Okay, this is the David Allen podcast, and we're going to go over some things. Today's subject is going to be about money, the allocation of money. Behind me is all the different categories we're going to go over, and I'm going to show them to you one by one, if you will. Again, this is for innovative, informational purposes only. We can make it entertaining. We can do a lot of different things. You interpret it your way, I'm going to interpret it my way. The most thing that you can get out of this is information that you could possibly need to start your dreams, to go after your dreams, to start your business, to get started today, and or tomorrow, or the next day, on anything holding you up, keeping you from this vision that you have, or enabling you to protect your assets or liabilities or where you're at. So the first thing we're going to go over, there are 5 levels of money. And in order to get those 5 levels out, I'm going to go over them with you. We have them over here. And as you see, the first one is cash and coin. And it is the pregame, basically. What we have is, we have everybody who has that. Everybody has cash and coin. It's the first level. 1 through 28-year-olds usually deal with this, and everybody else as well. This includes everyday people, teachers, workers, homeowners, and whatnot, students and family. That's the first level, if you will. The second level is credit, lines of credit, home equity lines of credit. Teachers, homeowners, investors, government workers, and this is usually 29 through 39, and so on and forth. The age group goes up. This is usually your first quarter in life, 29 and 39 when I say these ages, okay? Home equity line of credit, credit cards, that's what credit's got. That's the second level. The third level, if you look, it is stock, bonds, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, gold, silver, coins, U.S. Treasury bonds, first 10, 20, 15 years. Now, the reason why I'm giving you these 5 levels is to understand where you're at, okay? And you can be at any one of these, or you can know people that are at different ones. But if you don't know the levels, it's kind of hard to get to them, I guess you'd say. Stocks, bonds, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, gold and silver. The third level is things you can't control. In other words, you don't control the stock of a company, you don't control the bonds of what it is. They usually rate from anywhere to 3, 5, 6, 7% or up or down, give or take. Same in Bitcoin. So you can take it as you want to. 40 to 50 year age, this is the second quarter of life. Usually that comes in on who has that. When I see the OL is quarter of life, okay? The fourth is deeds, notes, mortgages. Contracts for deeds, hold a note to play for lender, or owner hold contract. This is the fourth level. Deeds to property, the land. In other words, someone owns the land, you want to buy it, they hold the deed, or you hold the paper, and usually it's the paper to the ownership of that, the deeded property. The note is the note behind it. In other words, if you have a loan against it, a mortgage, 30-year note or a 15-year note, it's not federally backed, it's backed by the property itself, or a product, if you will. It could be a product of some sort. It's contract for deeds is how they refer to that, or an agreement for deed. Just check your state, if you will. 51 through 61 is the third quarter, and that's of the game of money, fourth level. The fifth level is royalty, arts, trust funds, music, movies, and remnants. Who holds that? Well, royalties like oil rights, royalties to music, to voices, if you will, musicians, artists, and such forth. Usually 62 through 73 ages, or the age groups. This is the fourth quarter, and we all know there's fourth quarter, there's pregame, fourth quarter, and then overtime. So those are the 5 levels of money, from cash all the way to the royalty to be in the 5th level. Deeds, stocks, credit, and cash. The reason why you're learning this is because if you're stuck at the cash one, you need to get to the credit getting over to the stocks, bonds, commodities, and we're going to go over those here shortly. Or to home ownership, deeds, notes, and mortgages that you're involved with, like rental property, leasable property, that kind of stuff, or commercial property. Doesn't matter if you're the owner of the note or if you're leasing the property out. That's 4th level money. And the 5th level, the royalties to art, like Picasso, those kind of things, Van Gogh, Or you have a trust fund left over from your father, if you will, a living trust fund that you get a percentage of, if you will. That's basically where it comes into. Music rights. You wrote a song and then you have royalties to that song. That's where it comes in at. Movies, you produced a movie of some sort. Those are the fifth levels of money. Now, we go back to where all that goes to is taxable entities. Whether you see the C Corp, S Corp, LLC, LP, or sole proprietorship, living trust, or non-charitable trust. C Corps is a tax code. These are taxable entities by the IRS, which taxes each one of these in the US anyway, or if you want an international one. C Corps are like Microsoft, Microsoft, Boeing, if you will. They divide it up by stocks and shares, classifications, and percentages of par value. That's basically how you see this right here. 100% you're the owner, or 51% you're still in control. That's C Corp. Again, these are taxable entities that you have to decide when you open up your company. S Corps, incorporated, if you will, Amazon, investors, employees, and it's a pass-through. In other words, the money comes in and goes back through who invested into the company, and if you will, like who gets the money, basically the employees or the founders or the owner. It's all percentage, basically. It's a flow-through. LLC, I want to limit the liability between the product and or the electronic or the tech product that I have, which is like Google, YouTube, and these are units, basically defined as units. LLCs are crossbreeds between LPs, which is limited partnership, and a C Corp. What does that mean? That means I can decide later how I'd like to be taxed. The reason why they're so powerful is because they limit the liability like a limited partnership, limits the partnership to certain rules and regulations and laws, basically is what it comes down to. Now again, you do your own due diligence and check it yourself. Don't take my word for it. This is information, innovative information that you can go with and have and start your beautiful dream, if you will. Or how can I? This is information that gives you the ability to do it yourself. Or so you can get started with it without having to do it. You can replay it and go from there. Or again, ask your local, state, city situation of where you're at. So limited partnership is just like the U.S. Constitution. We have a partnership with what rules have been written for us, and we are the ones that are actually in partnership with it. Now, it could be as easy as a partnership or a prenup agreement between you or your wife. It's the same theory, if you will. In a limited liability company, it involves the liability between partnership and product, and it also includes members or managed members or founders, which requires units, if you will, kind of like Google and YouTube. Now again, these are all taxable entities at irs.gov that you can open up, and you're going to have to choose which one it is. And then they have sole proprietorship, which is just you as a sole individual. And again, these are all percentages of ownerships of who gets taxed, what gets taxed, and how they get taxed, if you will. And then you have living trust and non-charitable living trust. And again, these are taxable entities that you can layer your business or your assets or liabilities in. And this is what goes on when you open up a business, even if it's just a business for a new pen that you want to come out with, right? A new ink pen that you want to come out with, a new dry eraser, if you will. Now, the reason why you got to know the 5 levels is because you're going to usually start with cash or credit or stocks, bonds, and move over to deeds like your home, and move over to royalties of percentage of ownership. Now those go back to who has the royalties of your company. You can sell those of what company. Is it going to be a C Corp, an S Corp, an LLC, an LP, or a sole proprietorship? These are all public information that you can find out on your internet, and you can do anything you want with them, if you will. So now we're going to move over to the middle here, if you will. Let me switch sides. Okay, so we have the 5 levels of where we're going of money, basically 5 levels of money, as you see. And the way I always wrote it was you have a checking or savings. Am I checking into my money, moving it? Current moves, as you see up the top. It doesn't make money if it sits. You're safely losing money is how they call that. 90% of what you put in the bank gets loaned out, and it's federal FDIC insured. So we're going to realize that it gets loaned out how? Well, commercial, residential, cars, and credit. That's how the bank loans it out. And they bank on you not coming there to get it, which is normal classification for business, if you will. Anyway, we get back into it, and when you do this, you realize that 3 to 5% is like the GDP. It's only going up so fast, so much, which doesn't make any money, if you will. What does? Well, the creation of your dream, your business, on what you have and what you're doing, which on this side shows how you can do that. And again, we're going to go back over it, or you just rewind the tape and you can figure that part out. So what do I need to do this? Okay, I got an idea, I got a brand new pen, and I want everyone to know about it, right? Well, to open the business up, I got to go to the Secretary of State in my state, and obviously pay the fee to open up the business. You need the name. This requires a name, if you will. Name of business. The name. What are you going to name it? We're going to name it like Red Pen, right? Then you go to the EIN number, which is the employee identification number. They have the taxable identification number at irs.gov, which is free. You can do that too. To open this business, you need the Secretary of State to give you the certificate, which is you opening it up in that state. The EIN number is on the IRS with your tax code. What's it going to be? What kind of, the Secretary of State wants you to decide. Here, C Corp, S Corp, LLC, LP, or sole proprietorship. The entity that's going to come over to the IRS is they're going to ask you what kind of entity is it? Well, that's the employee identification number. Are you going to have employees, or is it going to be ran just by you? And who's the registered agent? Well, you are. You can be the secretary, the treasurer, and the CEO of your own company to open your own business. And again, we're going to go over this slowly here so you can understand it. And now third is I need a bank account. You need the articles of incorporation. David Allen opened a business, and here's what it consists of. I am the treasurer, the secretary, the owner, and now I'm in business. At any bank, you need those 3 documents to open it up. Now you're in business. And let's say you open up an LLC, if you will, right? It's a limited liability company in your state. Now, the IRS gives you anywhere from 3 to 4 years to file for that business. In other words, you got to show a profit. What's a profit? Penny over $1. Okay, you don't get charged for borrowed funds, you get charged for profit. You'll either be assigned an EIN number if you have employees, or a tax ID number. This is just code for business entities, unless you have a non-charitable living trust. And these are like the Social Security for your business. Okay, that's how you open the business up that you want to create, that's successful, that is here to serve the greater good of mankind for all legal purposes. And again, these are the way all businesses work. These are the way that every business works. And in the end, these are the things that you need to know in order to accomplish what it is you want to accomplish. I want to invent a new pen, if you will, right? So this is what you need to know in order to further your idea, if you will. And of course, these come with operating agreements, bylaws, and classifications, and all that great stuff. What this does is give you the parameters of the structure of it, if you will. We'll go over everything else. Now, the part up here on the left side, you see it says currency and money. Okay, so that's number 1. Well, how can you buy anything that you're going to be producing? How are we going to buy this? Well, we can either go cash, right, which is discount on it, or I can go terms. What does that mean? That means the terms of, like, we can give it to you, we can give you 100 pens at a cheaper price because you're buying 100 of them, right, or 1,000 or 1,000,000 of them. Doesn't really matter. Okay, and the 3 is passive, portfolio, and earned. So passive is stock inside of a company. I want to buy into your pen, okay, and I want to put it in my portfolio of managed assets. Basically, if I have some inside art, if I have some inside deeds, or some stocks, or some bonds, my portfolio of income. Earned is you working for this, the actual physical work. You're working for this company to create this this beautiful pen that's coming out that you're going to create. Now, I can either rent it, sell it, assign it, or lease it to anyone. Those are the 4 ways that you can do anything, whether it's gold, silver, stock, bonds, commodities, Bitcoin, whether it's my credit, whether it is art, whether it is music, movies, or the royalties of these. They all relate to this number 4 up here. I can rent it, sell it, assign it, or lease it. What does that mean? Well, if you make a video, if you will, like this one, I can either rent it out, sell it, assign it, or lease it. This one's not that. This is for you to do like, share, subscribe. That's the outcome of this one. These are all innovative, creative videos under the David Allen podcast, and it is for you to just get information on what it takes to get you started on your next endeavor, if you will. What is the market value and the cost, okay, of this product? Well, we need to know. There's a low, middle, and a working and a high end. What determines my value for this pen? The market. What does that mean? Well, you could say that you want $100 for this pen, but if it only sells at $10 because that's where the market sells, maybe in a high-end market, you want to sell it when they don't have any pens, right? In other words, there's very little pens, if you will, on the high-end market, but on the low end, there's a bunch of people that have these kind of pens. So what's it really worth? Well, again, the market determines the value of anything that we talk about or anything that I'm talking about. Hang on a second. Again, when you go to I think I should sell, how it says it up here, I think I should rent it, I think I should assign it, I think I should lease it. It doesn't matter if it's gold, silver, stock, bonds, commodity, Bitcoin, crypto. I doesn't equal we. In the game of money, it means that you haven't checked the market value or the cost, which means you have to do a market value test, if you will. And what does that mean? Well, I need to know if it's in a low market value, a middle market value, a working class market value, or a high end. Those are the four markets. Same with number 4 up there under current and market, or current and money. Rent it to own it, sell it to own it, buy, fix, and rent, buy, fix, and sell, or I can put it under contract and assign it, or I can lease it with an option, if you will. I want the option to buy, or I want the option to be given inside the contract. I mean, those are the only 4 ways you can get it. The passive, portfolio, and earned are the 3 ways you're going to get whatever it is you want to get, whether it's real estate, whether it is stock, bonds, commodities, or something of the kind that you're going to be investing into. You're going to get it with cash or terms, or credit, if you will. Terms equals credits. Doesn't matter if you buy it with your credit card at the percentage rate you're going to have this credit card. Now, when we go back to the market value, we're going to go back down to physically, legally, and financially. This is highest and best use of what your money is. How can I put this to work for me on the highest and best use for its value? Again, the market's going to be determining physically, does it make sense to make it? Well, I don't know. Does anybody have a red pen out there? I think a lot of people do. So physically, how much does it cost to build? Well, let's say it costs $1 to build, and I can sell them for $3. Legally, can we get it done? Well, it's a regular pen. I'm pretty sure legally you can sell it anywhere in the world. Financially, does it make sense to do it? Well, if we build it for $1 and sell it for $3 per pen, I think that would be great. In what market now? Again, the market determines the value of what it is you're doing. Without these things in thought process, without these in the intention of what it is you're doing, you're going blindfolded into what it is you're doing. Knowing these numbers, then it knows the outcome of what it is you're actually getting involved in, okay? And what makes sense. Again, we go to the highest and best use, physically, legally, financially. Those are the 3 that you got to get into whenever you're creating. Doesn't matter what you're creating, whether it is a podcast like this or whether it is the end result of what you're doing. Again, we're not going with this podcast because I'm not asking no more than a like, share, subscribe, if you will. Anything that helps you take it, rewind the tape or rewind the video and go further with it. Okay, and do your own due diligence. I tell everybody, make sure you do your own due diligence. Again, we go back to how else can we make this work, okay? And again, we go back to market value. The reason why probate, wills, and living trusts are up there is because 80% of people don't have a living trust. That means if you passed away tomorrow or someone did and you don't have a living trust that's filed, you just say, I have a will, then you hit probate. What is probate? Probate is when the courts step in and say, we're going to justify this ourselves. We're going to balance this out correctly. And with a will, it's just not enough. So the allocation of getting a living trust is vital to those who have assets and liabilities. In other words, you're separating you from your assets and liabilities. The probate side comes in when you add stuff to your will that's not in there. And if it's not in there, then it triggers probate. How many people hit probate a year when they pass or when people have passed? About 89% of people out there don't have a living trust. And again, you've got to go back to non-judicial and judicial with these markets. Some markets require judicial and non-judicial filings. It just depends on the state that you live in or where it's filed. When we get to the tax entities, there's 48 states that you file publicly, and there's 2 states that don't file publicly. What do I mean on that? Well, if I'm going to open up a business in Nevada or Wyoming, then you don't have the ownership is not public, if you will, in those two. They are kept silent behind the registered agent, and unless you judicially go to court to find out on something who the owner is, you'd have to pierce that, which that doesn't happen regularly because it usually doesn't involve the company's just paper. And those are the only two states that do that. All other 48 states are publicly, which means you can publicly find out who owns the company or what entity owns the company. In other words, another entity owns that company. And that's part of your due diligence on knowing where you'd like to open up your company, depending upon how big you want your company to be, or depending upon if you're going to be listing this and it's going to go public and all that kind of stuff on this brand new, beautiful widget pen we got going on. Again, we go back to it. Some non-judicial is non-filed. Filed is judicial. Now, what is the fair market value of this? Well, we're going to go with the past market value, the present market value, and the future market value. Again, what determines it? It goes back up to low, middle, working, and high end. When the past market said this pen was only worth $3. Well, if we produce 1 million of them, is it worth less? Well, absolutely, especially if you produce 10 million of them and stick them in every Walmart. Now we're going to go forward with it. What's the present value of it? Well, is your pen better than the other pen? Does it last longer? Is it built in America, if you will? Is it produced right here in a cheaper way and in a different way? Absolutely is, and it lasts, let's just say it lasts like 5 years with never having to re-ink it. Well, again, in the present moment, it sounds great. What about in the future moment? Well, again, we're going to go to future projections, if you will, and the fair market value. All three need to be met when it comes down to your pen, on your widget, on your creation of what you're doing. What is the selling office commission? Usually the selling office commission is based on what someone's going to make to market your product. Whether it is your home, this is the real estate agent selling your home gets a selling office commission 1 to 6 to 9%, or the broker. Again, we go back to past, present, future. What do I mean on that? I mean that if you're getting a mortgage loan, the broker gets a percentage of it, the commission, the mortgage broker's fee, on what the past value of it is, the present value, and the future value on selling that over to a bank and letting the bank fund it. Those are called SOCs. And they do happen inside every one of these that you see when you're buying and selling something. Again, if we go back to buying something, all these things mostly, if you're involved with them, are things that make money, like real estate, where you get cash flow, appreciation, and tax depreciation. Those are like the only three things that you get from real estate. Again, cash flow from renting it out, leasing it out, selling it, or a note holding it. Appreciation from the dirt appreciating and the property, because there's no more left, no one's selling in that area, if you will. The market would determine that. And then tax depreciation on the actual structure, which usually is around 30% of the value of the property, because the dirt holds around 70, or 70, 30, 30, 70. You do your own math on your own percentage of property that's based on your property. And the assessment usually is done by the tax assessor by the city, which you can pull up and find out. Now, again, if I'm finding out about the highest and best use of my investment, if I'm going into real estate, what am I protecting it with? A limited liability company. Why? Well, I want to limit the liability from that asset over to my name or to any other assets. Again, allocation comes in. Allocation of all. Why? The allocation of your trust, the allocation of your will, the allocation of you renting something, selling something, assigning something, leasing something. The allocation of your passive, your portfolio, or your earned. The allocation of past, present, and future values. And when you get into your allocation of each individual thing you're talking about, when it comes down over to the 5 levels of money, each one of these are considered a portfolio, which investors have, homeowners have, government workers have, everyday people, teachers, everyday life. These are the 5 categories that we all play with. Everybody does. And if you talk to somebody that knows about commodities or money, they would know about these 5 levels of where they need to start and how they need to get further in life to get further and keep moving forward. Doesn't matter if it's a brand new pen or a brand new cup of coffee that you're selling like Starbucks. It all starts somewhere. This is how it starts. Okay, and again, we're going to go back to it. The remnant, and you see in the middle, is called the Real Estate Mortgage Investment Trust. The reason why that's there is because that's what you see what most mortgages go into. Again, if you have A+ credit, 800 score credit, and you put 20, 30, 40, 50% down, that's considered A+ credit. That goes into an A+ real estate mortgage investment trust, which is sold on the open market to investors that want to invest into a certain percentage of their portfolio into a trust, which is 5/5 level money, which is considered part of their passive or portfolio, depending upon how they structure it. And we get back into it, and it is part of it. Which part do you want to be in? Do you want to be in the ones that are 700 credit score, which would be B plus, or 600 credit score, C plus? Ones that have put 20% down, 10% down, or no money down. That's where it's allocated and different. Can you as a person build that trust up with your own real estate and get the highest and best use out of it? Absolutely. You can do it with almost any property or any situation that you get into, whether it is third level money. You can create the value of what it is you want and ask them to bring in, or ask others to bring in what you feel the value is. But again, when you say, I want to do this, I doesn't equal I want to sell it. I want to rent it. I want to assign it. I want to lease it. I isn't we. I see a lot of people trying to say, I want to sell my home. How do you know you want to sell something that makes you money? Well, again, if you want to get out of the market and move your portfolio over to a different one, the market's going to be determining if you want to lease it, rent it, sell it, or assign it, or if it's a rent to own or a rent, buy, fix, and sell. Those are the four markets for anything. You have a piece of gold, you want to rent it, you want to sell it, or you just want to keep the gold and lease it out. Stocks, bonds, commodities, these are all done the same physical possible way, if you will. The market determines the value of what it is. When you see things come out, the market is what's determining it. What markets are there? Well, there's 4 seasons. Again, Eskimos aren't buying bikinis in the middle of winter. They're buying coats. So if you jump in front of the market, you'll see that that's how you get into the market value of where you're going to place it. And when I say place it, I mean the placement of your product, if you will. And that is the 5 levels of money. Now, you guys can put in their questions, comments, or email or all that stuff that are in the page, if you will. This has gone on 26 minutes. So we're going to end it here. Again, this is the Dave Allen podcast. And when I say the market ability, when it comes down to your product, you're going over to the 5 P's, which everybody knows about, which is the people, product, placement, price, and performance. In other words, we want to know that about your pen, right? The people that are going to buy it, the product itself, the placement, you're going to put it in what placement? Again, we go back to it. Are you going to rent it, sell it, lease it, or assign it? Is it physically, legally, financially? What makes sense on the highest and best use of it? The price of it, the performance, and the placement of it. These are normal, everyday things that you find out when you're creating something. What can you create? Anything you want to. You can create literally anything you want to. What does that mean? Well, that means that you can create anything you want to that you want to create, whether it is a podcast, whether it is an informational video that's going out there to help people, to assist people to get started. You can rewind this video and go over it and back and do your own due diligence. But that is the first information video for you guys, and this is over money. I wanted to get this one out of the way. Okay? Thank you all for showing up. And again, this is the Dave Allen podcast video. I'm not going to put a date on it because I'm not sure when I'm going to be putting it out. Anyway, thank you for sharing, and subscribing.